water, roads, we're taking care of the roads, and also school. And obviously that's where I fall into my expertise in the school. So,
all right. Ms. Sweat, anything else?
No.
All right, thank you. Well, we're going to move on to question 10. And this question goes to the candidates from District 1. Eco-agrarian is the lifestyle outlined in the strategic plan. How do you define that and describe how you would support it through actions by the City Council? I'm interested in that one too. I've never heard of that term before. So we're going to go with Mike Smith to start us off.
Thank you, Professor. In the city strategic plan, the concept of eco-agrarianism is described as one that connects people and nature with each other. I look at it as having three components: nature, place, community. Nature is about the environment in which we live. Places knowing about and actively caring for that location, whether we call it home, or our neighborhood, or our city. Lastly, it's community, which is the larger collection of towns, villages, and hamlets, as well as the biological community that shares our lands, the critters that we live out there. To me, the key would be creating a culture in the city that encourages and rewards its residents and businesses for becoming good stewards of the land and water resources, as well as finding harmony with the community of nature in which we live. Lake After Blueberry Farms plan development shows that we can create towns, villages, and hamlets that coexist with nature and provide agrarian opportunities. It provides a model of how to live in the past and the future, and become integrated with our land, neighbors, and community, becoming good stewards of our resources. As mayor, I work with the other council members, the strategic planning and implementation team, the city staff to craft actions that would help achieve that vision. Support from the council includes adopting revised land development standards, creation of natural recreation opportunities, and capturing actions that encourage our citizens and businesses to respect and take care of the area where they live. In short, the council must embody the principles of good stewardship of the land, its resources, and those who rely upon it, setting an example for others to follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Evelyn Wilson, what's your perspective on this?
Okay. Progressing in the direction of farm to table. Growers with community gardens, compost containers to use for fertilizer. I've already initiated the America in Bloom, where we have already launched projects and have engaged businesses, residents, gardeners, farmers, and educators. America in Bloom can save the taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars. Also, it is now a project being adopted by cities throughout all of Lake County, which is being headed up by Commissioner Sean Parks. The Eco-Ag has a positive impact on the environment and on the economy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Smith, there's 30 seconds if you'd like to add something.
Just to add that I'm looking forward to that farm-to-table restaurant coming here to the city and making take advantage of the eco-agrarian lifestyle that we're looking to adopt in the part of the city.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wilson, would you like to add anything else?
Just that I also would like to thank our strategic planning committee who is working with these provisions and helping us learn more about all these agricultural and environmental possibilities to instill in the city.
Excellent, thank you. Our next question goes to the candidates for District 3. In order to increase recreational programs, especially for our youth, do you think we need to increase city staff? Or do you think we should collaborate more with local nonprofits and or privately funded programs? Please explain your position. And the first person to answer this one will be Barbara Gaines.
mix to be had here. The city is actively engaged with the YMCA on their programs, Anointed Community Services on theirs, and Hope International Church. I believe that the city will benefit by adding additional staff to oversee the programs that we have with these partners of ours. There will be other opportunities to engage other nonprofits that will have established programs, and the staff will help to support the residents as well as the nonprofits. I believe that this is especially true for the disadvantaged youth and those with special needs. None of us is as smart as all of us, and we need to work together, create partnerships, and make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Tim Laux.
I believe our council should actually fund the required staff, encourage volunteerism, prepare participation. I am a proponent of partnering with local nonprofits and privately funded programs. Consider the Groveland taxpayers paying for our recreational programs, and nonprofits and privately funded programs should be required to provide an affordable percentage or free programs for Groveland youth. The council and staff must set a facility usage guideline to prevent local nonprofits and privately funded programs from monopolizing Groveland's recreational facilities.
Thank you. Our names, there were 30 seconds. If you'd like to add an additional comment.
Go Partners.
Thank you. Mr. Laux, if you want 30 seconds.
This is experience when I mentioned monopolizing the recreational facilities. This was experienced heavily in Fairmont, where the local kids that wanted to use the fields could not use the fields because they had been monopolized by primarily the not so much the nonprofits, but the privately funded programs. And considering that Groveland's taxpayers are financing these and paying for these recreational facilities, I think that Groveland's young should have the first opportunity to use these fields, and they should not be turned into areas for profit.
Thank you. Our final question goes to the candidates for District 5. Should there be a limit on the number of items on the consent agenda? Can you explain the purpose and positive reasons for having a consent agenda? While you find that question, first up at bat will be Dina Sweat.
The consent agendas are normally utilized for non-contentious items, such as approving minutes and other routine housekeeping matters that are not in need of debate. The agenda is also used as a time-saving tool when utilized the correct way. This gives the citizens an opportunity to speak on any item on the agenda if they so choose to. There are several issues with the way Groveland utilizes their consent agenda. When items of substantial importance, such as land use matters and taxation, is placed on the consent agenda, the general public is unaware of the item's full content and the effect it may directly have on them because they either do not fully understand the item's content or they are unaware of any previous discussions that have been taking place prior to the council's vote.
Next up is Randolph Williams.
I guess the biggest thing is I really need to understand what the consent agenda is, and I'll put it in basic terms. The consent agenda is your routine, ordinary items that are placed on there. One of the biggest things is that we're here to serve as your council, vice mayor, and mayor. So it is definitely up to our constituencies to reach out to us. If there's something on the consent agenda that you feel that is not a ordinary or routine item, definitely shoot an email, give a phone call, say, hey, let's take this off consent, let's discuss this, let's talk about that. And I'm a very big opponent and making sure that that every voice is heard. that's what I'm here for. That's what I went to school for. I'm here to serve. So.
Thank you. Dina Sweat, there's 3 seconds if you'd like.
A consent agenda gives the public the perception the government is not disclosing all the facts or the items and creates further mistrust and a lack of transparency by the governing body. And a consent agenda is something that is put out to let people know what is going to be spoken about. And most of the time they read everything all at one time and then it's a one-time vote. Unless somebody raises their hand and says, hey, I want to speak about this because I don't like it. So unless you speak up, it's going to get passed, or maybe it won't get passed, but you have to bring your voice, and you have to let people know what you think.
Thank you. And continuing my baseball metaphor, Mr. Wade, you get to be the closer tonight.
One last thing, in previous years, we had nothing on the consent agenda, and we had council meetings that went for hours. Obviously, if council meetings go for hours, then guess what we're paying for as taxpayers? We're paying for that staff to be there every night. Once again, if it's a routine item, if it's a second reading on something, then it needs to go on this consent agenda. But if it's an item that is not a routine item, and definitely we as the council see, hey, that's not a routine item, let's snap that off of consent. Or someone in the audience speak to us before, hey, let's take that off consent, let's talk about it.
Thank you, and I want to thank all of you candidates for being here tonight, but also for restoring my faith in the process. Politics have become so corrosive and just so disagreeable, but you were able to have a discussion this evening that put the civil in civil discourse, so I thank you for that. We will now allow each candidate 2 minutes to make their final comments. And we're going to start this round with Evelyn Wilson.
So can I start at the beginning what I missed out in discussing before?
Have at it.
Okay. Over the last 4 years, under my leadership, we have achieved so much positive within the city. I believe that the whole council has unanimously voted together on all items except for 2. I have led the charge on a few issues over the years, one being the Turnpike Exchange and mile marker 285. When we first moved here, I couldn't understand why it was only allowed to open on the south side. In 2009, I brought it up and I couldn't get any traction to it. I stayed persistent, and in 2015, I was told that the Turnpike had approved my suggestion. And in 2023, Exchange 285 will become north and southbound Turnpike Exchange, which will ease traffic from the Christopher C. Ford Commerce Park. Another project I brought to the city was getting involved with American Blue, which I have already mentioned. There are a number of projects that I am working on and hope to get completed. I have seen the vision for Groveland and want to help make it happen. I also encourage anyone with ideas, comments, and suggestions to email them to the city, or you can reach out to me. I am involved in a number of committees: Florida League of Cities Voting Representative, East Central Regional Planning Council, an alternate, Keep Lake Beautiful, Lake Sumter Metropolitan Planning Organization, the MPO, South Lake Task Force, Affordable Housing Committee, an alternate, and as of August 11, 2022, unanimously voted onto the Florida League of Mayors Board of Directors. Thank you.
Thank you. It's your turn, Mr. Smith.
First, I'd like to go back out and say to everybody, thank you for coming out here tonight and for being a part of this process, because it really is important to be involved in local politics. So you've heard a number of questions come tonight. To be one of the biggest challenges facing the city as you listen to all this is growth management. Prior to 2018, the city had approved various zoning changes, including the issuance of land use development ordinances. And all those changes created entitlements to property owners for around 25,000 additional city has begun the effort to manage that growth that others have imposed upon us with a full revision of its land use codes and its future land use designations. It will take a strong leadership to manage the implementation of the strategic plan, to manage its projected growth, to minimize its impacts on transportation, citizen quality of life, and the ability to retain the character of this town with natural charm. Some may wonder why I decided to run for mayor rather than just stay on the council and taking that seat, because I've been able to help out there. But I do believe that I can make a better contribution to the council as its mayor. When I first elected to the city, there was around 13,500 people in the city. Now there's 21,500. Our projections are that in 2030 we'll be closer to 43,000 people. We must have people on the council who can provide the critical thought and analysis on issues the city is facing today and in the future, and smart growth to maintain that natural charm. I believe the city has reached this point where leadership not only needs to understand the nature of the present, but it needs to understand the nature of the future, and how do you get from that present to that future. Hopefully tonight you've seen through my answers that I have the capability, confidence, and passion to be your next mayor. Now is the time for moving forward. I'm not bringing that together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Tim Laux, it's your turn.
Mr. Groveland, I'd like to relinquish part of my 2-minute allotted time on closing statement, and that's the audience to join me for a moment of silence to pay tribute to the fallen and injured first responders across the United States and the sacrifice to ensure we can continue to live in a safe, free America. And after that, I'll continue. Thank you. A little about my goals and objectives. One of the first things I want to revisit is the special assessment that was approved in 2022. My plan calls to form a common sense growth management plan. My plan calls for major aesthetic enhancements to Groveland's Western Gateway of State Road 50. My plan calls to bring transparency back to local government by removing items such as taxations and land development from the consent agenda. My plan calls to support Groveland's new strategic plan through a common sense and affordable implementation. I've secured over $6.5 million for cost share grants for water expansion projects when I was mayor. I led the fight that launched a complete reorganization of Groveland staff and management. I voted to decrease property taxes over 3 consecutive years through control and smart spending policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's to you, Barbara Gaines.
You all have heard a lot tonight about our visions for Groveland. Some things we agree on and some things we don't. My platform is economic development, driving small businesses, and enhanced quality of life with activities and education about the various cultures that we have, and accountability and transparency of the city to our residents. I pledge to complete my second term when I am reelected. I'm proud to be the councilwoman for District 3, and I'm asking for your vote so I can continue to implement our strategic plan and help Groveland grow smartly, all while protecting our natural charm. I'm proud to have the endorsement of Lake County Commissioner Doug Shields. Come out this Friday to the second Friday, which is really the third Friday because of the rain, and and stop by and say hello. I will be there. Groveland Games with Margaret Gaines. Please visit my website, Margaret District 3, and I thank you all so much. Thank you.
We now move on to Randolph Waite.
First up, I definitely want to say I'm in love with you. One thing that I always look at is I treat Groveland as my body. And when you look at your body as you grow, you try not to identify your age. You try not to identify your wrinkles, your knees hurt. But we as a council, we need to identify what is the weaknesses of Groveland so we can move forward. And I think so far we've identified some of those weaknesses. I've talked about some of those weaknesses. I've talked about a financial stability plan that needs to be put together as we move forward. We talked about some transportation issues, how I have acquired $46 million. And then what was not talked about on my end was the future school issue. We talked about a request that I did not get the opportunity to address. The Lake County School has its own governing body, has its own elected official. One of the elected officials is here tonight. His name is Taylor, and he could definitely vouch for this. We don't have control of their budget. So one thing that we need to do, we need to be more proactive than reactive. And so we need to take a look at charter schools. There are three ways to develop a charter school. You can convert a public school, you can develop one through a municipality, or you can go through the private sector with a corporation like Pinecrest. Conversion will not be an option. We're more looking at a municipality or a corporate. So that's one of the ways that we can move forward in regards to the schools. Some positive things, some accomplishments that I accomplished under my tenure is building recreational facilities with no additional tax burden, a $6 million grant, acquiring future water rights that pays for itself, acquiring funding for transportation issues, and retaining a city manager that gets results. Once again, I ask, is Groveland better today than it was yesterday? Vote Randolph Waite, November 8th.
And we get to a period on the evening tonight with you, Dina Sweat.
When I was first elected in 2014, they sent me to have my emo class done. When I came back, I had to learn so much in those 3 days I was gone because I went to Delray Beach. And from that point forward, I thought that I had to attend every meeting, every workshop, every committee meeting, every event. And I did. In those 7 years, I missed one meeting because of the flu. It got to where I was at so many